A few people ask me about the immigration process here in Spain, and I'm actually doing a PowerPoint presentation on all the bits and pieces I needed. But I thought, you know what, I'll do a quick video as well. Because one of the things I do know is some people will hear, oh, you need this, this, and this, and all they're hearing is blah, blah, blah. So the presentation will sort of walk you through it. Bear in mind, this is my process. So there is regional differences. There is differences if you're a student, if you're a pensioner, if you're self-employed, if you're working in Spain. Everything has slightly different criteria, and I will cover the various ones over a bit of time. But this is basically the stuff I needed for mine, and it will also explain why it's quite a complicated process. So we'll start at the first thing you need. First thing I needed was a rental agreement. If you're getting a rental agreement, you may need to have references, you may need proof of income, you may need a bank account, but often you can't get a bank account without actually being in Spain already. But also there is non-resident accounts which you can set up for your UK, Swiss home or wherever. But it's normally within the EU to get a non-resident account. I'm not saying it's impossible to get it elsewhere. I'm just saying that to get a non-resident account from the ones I've seen, everybody I know is EU, so it may be a bit more complicated if it's offshore because the banking can be slightly different, you know. But anyway, so first thing is you rent an agreement. That starts the ball rolling. Now, after you've got your rental agreement, you can then get yourself on the electoral roll, which is the Padron. Now that requires your tenancy agreement, your passport, and possibly some utility bills. I think that's all you'll need for that. They might require your NIE, but it's a bit of an odd one because you normally can't get your NIE without the Padron. So, but I have seen it written on the boards the wrong way around as well. So nothing surprises me anymore. But that's processed at the statistics office in your local town. Here in Torrevieja, you just get a ticket number, go there, queue up, get your ticket number, wait in the queue, then just get it done. There's a little electronic board that's actually in English or whatever language you've got, and they'll actually set it up so you can just go click, 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 just give them your passports, and pretty much they'll do everything else for you, or they'll ask you for it. So once you've got your Padron, the next one is your NIE. NIE is basically your tax identification number for Spain. This is a very important one and it will stay with you forever. You'll need your tenancy agreement, you'll need the Padron, you'll need the payment of processing, which is required at the bank. Basically, they call it Modelo, but I'm not sure which Modelo it is, because there's different ones. Because I'm not sure it's a Modelo 790, because 790 is to do with another form. But I'm not 100% which one it is, I'll have to look that up. But it costs about 10 to 15 euros to get it done. And you go to the bank with that, the bank stamp it, they give you 3 copies, one's for the bank, one's for you, and one's for the foreigner's office. You also need to take your passports along for that as well. You have to get that done at the foreigner's office, which you will need an appointment to process that one. But maybe worth going in person, because you can do a lot of this online now, just to make sure you've got all the right documents, because they might turn around and say you need to go to the bank, and they might give you the document you needed, because I did, because obviously I didn't know where to get the Modelo thing from in the first place. SIP cards is the next thing. SIP cards are the Spanish medical cards. What I've found is that in Spain, as long as you're on the Padron and everything else, they will give you 3 months healthcare. But I know a lot of the expats here use the EHIC cards, which they shouldn't. You know, if they're becoming resident, they should be in the Spanish system. So with that, you need your passports, you need your former EHIC cards, because sometimes they'll use those until everything's up and running, but also it shows that you're in the system somewhere. You'll need your Padron. You may need a utility bill. Now, they may change the system a little bit, so you may need to have some social security payments, but those four ones I've mentioned are the main ones they look for. But they do keep adapting the system regularly. And you can get that done at the immigration office, you can get it at the hospitals, and get it done at Salud. Salud is basically, it's a clinic. They basically print the cards there for you. I will also say that if they say, no, I don't do it, that doesn't really mean they don't do it. It means the person you're dealing with isn't going to do it. You go at a different time, you'll find somebody else on there will do it, no problem. I've had this experience myself. There's a lazy guy that works in the afternoons. I don't think he actually does any work. I think, sorry, that's unfair. I said he worked in the afternoon. No, I don't think he works at all. He just sits there. Because he's always fobbing everything off, come back tomorrow and everything else. Just complete waste of space. Next one, register for Social Security. If you're becoming resident, they want to see that you're paying into the system somewhere. So you need to have a Social Security number, which is actually tied to your NIE. I think the NIE and the Social Security number are the same, but the Social Security number also has a long number with it as well. To get that, you'll need to go to the Social Security office, obviously. You'll need your NIE, you'll need your Padron, you need your passports. May require a utility bill as well, just as proof that you've got everything. You're actually at that address. Now, one of the things I will say about utility bills in Spain, they charge for the change of name. So a lot of landlords don't want it changed. Because you imagine I owned this place, and every time somebody moved out, I had to pay to get it put back on my name, and then have another tenant come in and change it again. So what they normally do is they just put the direct debit onto your account and keep it in their name. So things like internet, obviously it's a utility bill. Once your first utility bill comes through, you can use that. But normally the electric and water, they want to keep on the same landlord because they don't want to pay, I think it's like 60 euros or something. It's a lot of money for nothing. So be aware of that. But it's important you get Social Security because it shows you're paying into the system, which is one of the key elements they want. Also, you can transfer your healthcare, if you're from the UK, to Spain. There's ways of doing that, and we'll cover that another time. Next thing is, which you can do as soon as you've got your residency, by the way, sorry, not your residency, your tenancy agreement, going back to the first step, is open a non-resident bank account. This allows you to pay your bills, and you may find that when you rent a property, first thing they want is this bit of paper that says, give us your bank details so we can direct debit you. So you will need to open the bank account quite quickly, and a lot of these steps we've covered, you can do half of them in a day if you're quick. I've done 3 in a day in one go. But to open a bank account, you need your Padron, you need the passports, you need a utility bill, and you may need your NIE. Well, you will need your NIE. But one of the important things I want to say here, though, is a non-resident account. You can tie things to your UK address, or wherever you've come from, which makes it a bit easier to get the account open. But they'll process everything and say, bring your NIE in because we'll need that, and they're expected in the next few days. Which, in all honesty, you can do the NIE in a day if they'll process it the same day, because some places do, some places don't. The big thing with banks, be aware they have a lot of hidden charges. They also have annual fees, and then if you have accounts that don't have the annual fees, they can charge you for everything. I remember I paid a small charity donation, which was only like 4 or 6 euros, and they charged me about 15 euros for processing it. They do rub you blind, so be aware. Read the small print, double check, get them to confirm what exactly you're paying for, because they'll run it up without telling you. And the next thing, residency as a EU citizen. This is mine. This is why it gets a bit complicated, because this is my process. First thing is you need the EX18. The EX18 is basically a document that I might have one here actually. That's an EX18. As you can see, I've filled it in. It's just a form. You can download this off the internet. It just says what your INIE number is, what your passport number is, your name, date of birth, which country you come from, and not a lot else. But you'll need that, and you'll also need to give them a copy of it as well. Take along your passport. They'll want a copy of your passport as well. So what I normally do is I can make extra copies of everything so that they don't have to faff around doing it themselves, because people appreciate people making life easier for them. So I always keep extra copies of everything. You'll need the Modelo 790, which is a bank payment. What you'll have to do is go to the bank with Modelo 790, which is the name of the form, and they will take your €10.60, which is the current rate for this process. Important thing, you don't pay every time. If you get rejected, you don't pay it again. You just pay it once. Just make sure you keep your receipt. So you process that. They'll give you, well, there's 3 copies. One for you, one for the foreigner's office, and one for the bank. Always keep your copy, because it is proof you actually paid it. Next thing is proof of social security payments. Some of you may not have these, and some of us do. This is why it's confusing. Oh, another important document. This is a Padron. You will need one of those. But let's get on to the social security. There's different social security documents they want. I just want to make sure we talk about the right ones. Okay. The Viva, what they call the Vida Laboral, maybe not. My Spanish is not fantastic. It's basically a document that looks like this, and you can get this from the Social Security office, or you can print it online. This one here is the next one you'll need for Social Security, which is the Information. Oh, that's the Informe de la Laboral. That's the first one we need. Just have a quick read down it. It's 4 pages long, and it's basically just going to cover my payments into the system. And then we have the other document, which is the Information Séjour. I can't even say it. Ciudadano. It's in the other folder, that's why I can't see it. Let's just find this. I know this is a bit long-winded, but yeah. So here we go. This is the Information Ciudadano. As you can see on here, it actually says where I paid in and how many payments I've made. And this is the Information Ciudadano, which actually shows the payments and which months they were paid. It's basically a statement of accounts. As I said, it's not a simple process, it's quite complicated. Next thing is bank statements. Now, because I actually work for a UK company, I went full hog on this, because I thought give them way more than they need, and to the point I went to all the tax sites and got all my government documentation print off, because they get confused on what tax you paid, what social security you paid, etc., because it's in the UK and it's getting transferred over. So I've actually got a statement of income from the gov.uk site showing even my tax allowance for next year. Everything's in there. What I've paid in social security in the UK and what it can be transferred. I've then got a copy of all my payments in the UK for a year, because I went overboard. I got a full statement of accounts, so they can see week by week what was paid and when. I've got every pay slip for the last year. So I went overboard on it because I give them way more than they needed. I gave them a copy of a contract from my company I'm working with. Plus the agency, I got another contract for them. And then I got the Spanish bank account and I tallied up the payments going from the UK to Spain so they can see the money being paid from a payslip into the UK bank account, transferring from UK to Spain, so it's a full money trail. That way it just simplifies everything for them because they have everything right in front of them. But if you're reading what they actually tell you on the form, what they actually want is 3 months bank statements for the last 3 months, plus 3 months 3 month bank statements, which are normally the UK and Spain, because they want to see the transfer, because they've had problems here with people having show money. Show money is where you basically just put money in the account, pretend it's yours. Some people loan you this money, and other people, you can maybe get friends and family give you a chunk of money every month and say, oh look, I'm earning this, but there's no tax or anything paid on it, because as soon as you get your residency, you give them all their money back. So this is why it's become a bit of a pain to do, which is why they also want 3 months pay slips minimum and your work contract. All those documents combined is what I needed for the residency. And when I say combined, I'm not on about just the list we went down for residency, but obviously everything else we spoke about so far is combined, is how we got our residency. And that's why it's not a straightforward process. It is when you sit and do it like this, but nobody gave me a list like this when I started, and this is why I'm putting it together to try and help other people. But also, we're in a position now to actually help process other people's documents. We can also do translations if it's required. We can also give you an interpreter, because sometimes they get frustrated with you because you don't speak any Spanish. They get annoyed. Go and bring us a translator. But in all honesty, if you've got all your documents in the right order, in a way they can understand, you don't need a translator. But you may need somebody's help to sit and put everything in order. So you just wander down with this. I mean, that's only half of mine, because obviously they've took the other half in the office. And one of the things I did do as well was put a cover letter explaining, I apologize that my Spanish isn't very good. I've been here a year and I'm still learning Spanish, plus covering how my payments and everything work. It's all written in Spanish, by the way. It's not written in English. But the reason being, the guy opens it up, he can understand me as a person straight away, and then he goes through my documents. And I think that's one of the clinchers why I didn't have so many problems when I got rid of the guys that were supposed to be helping me and actually just concentrating on doing it myself. It was done in a month. It took them 16 months and it just cost me nearly €2,000. We live and learn. Thanks for watching.